one of the things that you're going to talk about that you've already kind of referenced are the 7 people who you cannot help potentially yet, depending on who you talk to. It seems.
Potentially, yes.
So can you kind of give us a little example, a little thumbnail of that?
Yeah. Yeah. Again, I love it so much. I love that section so much. And it's just really fun. But I think that I'll give you just the first two, and I won't break them down because I truly could talk about this forever. And everyone will leave the show. So the first one is like people who don't accept that they have a problem, right? Like if they do not believe it to be a problem, then we have to honor, where that place is, and it goes more in depth. And then the second one is people who think that you are the problem. And so kind of my thing with that is that, it's like, I don't have a problem. I have a problem with you who has a problem with my problem. That's not a problem. And I see that a lot. I think addiction treatment, it kind of plays out the most overtly. Obviously. And so, we do interventions, and you intervene, and you get a family in, and it's like, hey, this is how it's affecting us. We want to help you, all of that. And that person at the end of the day can say, this isn't an issue for me. And right. And then we got to go, okay. Right. And then what boundaries do we need to set when someone says this isn't an issue for me? All with the heart of, what we can't keep doing is this sick thing that's happening between us. And obviously I'm talking about a sick system. And so we're going to have to change some things in order to do that. That typically, obviously, an intervention leads to them being like, okay, well, I'd rather go to treatment than be homeless, but not always. Sometimes people have to go be homeless and go, oh yeah, I don't like that, and decide. And so things have to get uncomfortable to change those decisions. But yeah, so there's just a list of them, but I think it just allows us to recognize where people are, and maybe some people that we're working with that are there, that we've put a lot of energy into, and we don't know why we're really frustrated that they're not acting right, if you will, or not kind of grasping this, or aren't really coming along with us, because we just love them and want it for them so badly, and it comes from such a good heart. But so it's really fun. We laugh a lot through that one because people are weird, and we get to kind of pick on them. So
you only laugh at stuff when there's truth to it.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
There's a lot of truth to it. I was just thinking, like, especially in light of that first one that you mentioned, just how it seems like so basic. You can't help someone who doesn't believe they have a problem. But I just think even like the broad implications for the church, and I think sometimes we can feel so convinced that even just discipleship in general is about making sure that people can clearly see where their lives are not lining up with the word of God. Like, I need to make sure that you see that you are not living right. Or, like, we would never overtly say that.
Mm-hmm.
But I think what I have loved witnessing again in our programs at Mercy is that there's so much emphasis on us helping to disciple you into an intimate relationship with Jesus. Mm-hmm. And then out of that intimate relationship with the Lord, he starts to speak into things instead of us feeling like we have to be the ones to speak into everything and convince you that all of these X, Y, and Z behaviors are not good. They're not healthy. They're not in line with the word. I'm not saying that we don't ever talk about that, but I think sometimes we can get so convinced that we need primarily, I got to be over here making sure that people see their issues and see their problems, instead of like, what if my primary job is just to disciple them into this kind of walk with the Lord? And then he kind of takes care of that. And he does. Like, when we've really helped people grow into that walk with him and know how to go to the word, like, he starts to kind of do the things that we somehow think are all our job to do. So I don't know. That wasn't super applicable to what we were talking about. But
no, I mean, I think it's teaching us to, and even going back to what you mentioned, the question with, where pastors are maybe struggling, or ministry leaders in general, is like, there is a level of an uncomfortability with actually trusting that the Lord will show up for people. I think sometimes we're like, but I'm the Lord showing up for people. Not that we think we're God, but we're like, I'm his hands and feet. And I think that line can get blurred and crossed. And so that's part of what we want to do, is just offer those practical things to kind of hold us accountable and really assess ourselves and where are we crossing lines, so that we're just the healthiest we can be and can pour that out to others. But I know, for me, I've got to kind of assess consistently, or it is, what am I taking on that's not mine? because it's actually the Lord's. And I got to trust that, when I say, when someone's arguing with me about something I know is really unhealthy, and I'm like, okay, look, will you at least go talk to God about that? Just go pray about it. And let me just hear what he said. Am I going to sit in anxiety and really wonder if God's going to show up, or am I going to trust and pray and cover them? Let them go do what they need to do, and trusting that God's going to show up the way that he needs to. And, just praying that they receive that, because we know what's good and we know what's right, but it's not always our job to, browbeat people into understanding it.